Now the good experience for the Jewish people was that from Arior on the rim of Arnon Gorge and from the town in the gorge, even as far as Gilead, not one town was too strong for us, which means that the Jewish people went through different towns and were able to defeat all of the people. And I feel that that's kind of similar to the United States defeating some other countries. I think one time when we went to Iraq, we just kind of went through there with the soldiers, and the soldiers went into the city, and they expected a battle, but just went on right through and took over the particular town. When Saddam was in control, the U.S. just went right in. They went through Kuwait, and there was no war until they got into the other cities, but while they were traveling through, there was no resistance. And that's the same thing that the Jewish people experienced. They just continued on. So you see what happened, the bad, previously when they fought, they lost. And then the good, they were able to defeat their enemies. So the point is that we have to learn from our mistakes. When Moses presented to the people, he told them that we had to learn from our mistakes. And he compared the bad, what happened in the past, to the good happening now. So if you make a mistake, that's fine. Get back up. Don't feel like quitting. I give up. Moses said if you made a mistake, fine, get up and proceed from there. Because in our lives, we are going to make mistakes. We will fail. We will fall, and we will falter. Part of life. We don't expect to be perfect and go through life perfectly. Some days we will fall, some days we will fail, some days we will falter. And that's okay. If you make a mistake and you fall, get back up and try again. Try to do right. So accept the consequences without complaining. I know my sister's smiling ear to ear today because 2 days we talked about how we can't complain. Whatever we have, that's what we have to accept. And I agree with her this morning. Yes, that's right. Sometimes we, in our lives, we get into a position and we fall. You know, and I was like, no, I should have resisted in the first place and not get into that position. And I blame myself. But I have to accept this and go on without complaining. That's life. Sometimes we complain, your fault, we blame other people. We need to blame ourselves, realize, okay, we are in this position, so we just need to go on. Accept it and go on. When we fall, we have to learn to love the desert. The Jewish people, you know, they were looking forward to the land of milk and honey, but they couldn't live there. They had to travel for 38 years. Oh, so they had to learn to accept that and struggle in the desert for 38 years with the same food, quail, the bread, the water, which was insufficient. And they had to learn and depend on God. The Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. God met your needs. And the Jewish people remembered, yes, even though the food was the same, eating quail, the same bread, the people complained, but they remembered that God did take care of them. He didn't leave them to starve and die. The people, although they complained, saying, you brought me here so I could die, I would rather have stayed in Egypt as a slave and be whipped. And the people complained. And then God provided food and they were happy. And then complained again. We're eating the same food, all the same bread. And God would give a quail. And then they would go, oh, yay, meat finally. And the vegetarian maybe complained, I can't eat meat. I'm still only eating bread, so sorry, but the people who didn't like bread said, you know, they're getting, I need less carbs, would say, yay, finally some meat. And, you know, maybe I would be complaining, I want potatoes. Really, what's important is while they were in the desert, God tried to build their character and develop a relationship. Remember, when the people left Egypt, they had many gods, many idols. And he knew that their Lord God was the better God than all other gods. And as they built a relationship, people started to get rid of their false gods. They realized that there was just one God. And that was building the character of the Jewish people to develop a relationship with this one God for 38 years through Moses preaching and building his relationship and working and knowing the path to this one God. And the Jewish people learned to listen to God's voice, like sheep. So if you had sheep and you took care of sheep, I know you don't have sheep, so I'll change it to dogs. I'm a cat person, but perhaps you have dogs. Make that out of dog. And if you yell, the dog knows your voice if you talk to it, because he's used to hearing your voice. First it was a noise to this dog, and then later the dog got used to your voice. The dog learned to know your voice. So when you called it, it was fine. One time, kind of a funny story, maybe my sister remembers, I don't know if my family remembers, that one time again there was no TTY. We had a TTY, but no, my two sisters did not have TTYs because they had to buy the machine. And at that time, they didn't have the mini-coms, the small TTY. And it was night, and there was a storm, and my mom wanted some coffee. So my mom asked my sister Donna, who lived in an apartment close to home. And I don't know why my mom wanted coffee, but she wanted coffee, and we thought, how can we contact my sister? We didn't have pages at the time, so they asked me to dial her phone number and call her, my sister, and I thought, no, I can't do that. And Mom said, if you speak, Donna will understand your voice. So I went, okay, I called her, and I said, Mom wants coffee. And I couldn't hear the response, and then I hung up, and then there was a knock on the door, and we said, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I thought, we're fine. Did something happen? Was something wrong? No, we just wanted coffee. So Donna showed up at the door. I thought that was kind of funny. It was the same idea. She knew my voice. But my point is, she knew my voice. She knew who called. She knew where to come running. But she thought something was wrong. but it was only coffee. So that was the idea of this. They were to hear God's voice and know who he was and know his voice and have a relationship. And once that happened, we knew God's voice. We knew when God was talking to us. And sometimes we struggle, we don't know, things are not clear, we struggle, we don't understand, and maybe because we really have not understood his voice. We're confused. Or we doubt. We don't know which path to travel. But as things get clear and you know God's voice, you can compare that to you. And you will know which is Satan's voice and which is God's voice. And you know what the police and counterfeit money, if you ask a police officer, how do you know if money is counterfeit? How do you know? Well, they don't practice using different paper. They don't do that. What the police have to do is take out real money and practice feeling what real money feels like. They don't practice with feeling fake money. They get used to knowing what real money feels like. And when it's time, they can tell. No, this is fake. This is fake. Oh, this is fake. And I thought, no. So I play tennis with David, and we play, and you know, we decided to make a schedule. And we decided to restring our rackets, and we played better. Oh, as time went on, I bought a new tennis racket. Don't worry, I bought a cheap one. Not an expensive one. I wasn't going to buy one for $300, $400. I bought a cheap one, and I thought, I can feel the difference. Or I'd say, no, this one is not my racket. Maybe this was from my wife, this is from my son, or maybe if my sister played tennis, I would give her this racket. Because I knew the feel of the tennis racket. One I didn't like the feel of, and one I did. So maybe the same kind of thing. You drive a car every day, and then suddenly the car feels different. Because you're used to how it feels driving, and you know it's time that it's going to be breaking down soon and it's getting old. The same idea. You and I, if we want a relationship with God, we must pay attention and listen to him. It's his truth. And not listen to others. We struggle with our lives. We listen to all these other people. And we need to go. Remember what the Bible teaches us. We can look at world news and say, oh, okay, but I admit I don't watch the History Channel. I don't watch the religious Bible teaching. I don't. But sometimes when you ask me a question, I would sit and watch on TV and would not agree because I already have the Bible. I already had that in my hands, and I can disagree with what I see on TV. Maybe you wonder what's real, what's not real. But if you focus on the Bible, when you see things on TV, you can understand whether something is true or not true. And that's why it's important that you have a relationship with God, read the Bible, know who God is, and then it's easy for you to know